Hello everyone, welcome to the channel and welcome to another Elden Ring video. Now for today's video, I'm going to be doing a ranking video and I'm going to be ranking what in my opinion is the top 10 hardest boss fights in all of Elden Ring. Now before we jump into the list, I just want to go ahead and give you guys a spoiler warning. So if you guys don't want to be spoiled on some of the in-game bosses or just some of the secret bosses that are in this game, turn away now. This video isn't for you. Maybe come back later once you've beaten the game. Now making this video was extremely fun. I loved the hell out of Elden Ring. It's easily one of my favorite games of all time now, and I just had an absolute blast playing this game. But some of the bosses in this game were just nuts. So this list is based off of how much trouble these bosses gave me. Now obviously every person is going to handle bosses differently depending on your playstyle and what kind of weapons you're using and whatever. So this list is just the bosses that gave me the most trouble. I'm talking like 10 to 100 plus deaths, multiple hours spent on one boss. These bosses just gave me the hardest time. And there's like, I think over 80 bosses in this game, so it was pretty hard to narrow it down to 10. And let me know down in the comments which boss in the game was the hardest one for you personally. Now with that all said, let's go ahead and jump into the list. So starting off this list at number 10, we have Commander Niall, or Niall, however you pronounce his name. Now this guy gave me a lot of trouble. I think it took me over 30 some tries to beat this guy. And one of the reasons that he's so difficult is because it's not just a one-on-one fight with him. He actually summons two of his minions, and he summons two really beefy knights that come with a sword and a shield and dual-wielding swords. One of his minions is exactly the same as one of the spirit summons that you can bring out, which is the Banished Knight Oleg. So I was having my Banished Knight basically fight his Banished Knights, and it's just a pain in the butt. Between the two knights and him, it's pretty easy to get overwhelmed in this boss encounter. I got lucky towards the end and I just got him stuck in a corner, and me and my spirit just beat the crap out of him. It took so many attempts to kill this guy because he's so fast, and he has this one electric move on his prosthetic leg where if he hits you with it, it would one-shot kill me every single time. So it was just a very difficult boss encounter. And what's so amazing about Elden Ring is that no matter how many times I level up, I go to a new area and I'm thinking in my head, you know, I leveled up 10 to 20 times, I'm gonna just crap on everything, and then the boss just slaps me around like I'm just a level 10 or something. I remember going up against this commander and thinking I was extremely overpowered, and then he punished me just time and time and time again. I think I was like level 110 when I fought this dude, and he just kept stomping me. So Commander Niall was a pain in the butt, and that's why I'm putting him at number 10. So moving on to number 9, we have the Lichdragon Fortissax. Now this dragon is something that you could probably very easily miss. This is from doing one of these side quests, and this dragon is no joke. This boss encounter, it is very easy to get overwhelmed fighting him because he just comes out of the gate swinging. He has multiple moves that he can do. He can spew out this death breath where if your meter fills up, you just instantly die. He has tons of lightning attacks and AoE effects, and there's just lightning all over the place. He can breathe fire. He can summon lightning weapons, so he can like pull out a lightning sword. This guy is super aggressive. This is just a really tough boss encounter. I remember I was facing this guy just over and over and over, and I eventually just got tired of it, and I went off exploring and leveling up, and I had to come back to this dragon like 2 or 3 different times throughout my playthrough, and I ended up not killing it until like really late in my playthrough because this thing was just so tough. Like I would leave, go level up like 10 to 20 times, come back, and he would still just absolutely stomp on my face. So the Lichdragon Fortissax is no joke. He's really, really tough, and that's why I'm putting him at number 9. So coming in up next at number 8, we have the Fire Giant. Now the Fire Giant is actually one of the later bosses that you'll fight in the game. This is one of the main story bosses, so pretty much everybody has to face this guy if you get to the end game. And this dude, I originally thought that he was going to be easy because he was just so big, and like most of the big giant creatures in this game, I just run underneath their legs and just hack and slash at their legs. But that ended up not really working with this dude because this Fire Giant is actually pretty fast for his size. So anytime I'd run underneath his feet, he would either just roll on top of me and instantly squish me, or stomp on me, or he has all these different fire attacks. and anytime I would try ranged attacks, he would just like bash me with his giant shield, and I struggled and struggled and struggled, and then when I finally thought I beat him, he had a second wave to his boss encounter. So you not only have to fight the first round of the fire giant, you have to fight him in his second form, where he gets more aggressive, he has tons of fire attacks, and most of his attacks will pretty much insta-kill you. It's definitely recommended to have a lot of fire resistance if you're going into this fight, because a lot of his fire attacks just do so much damage. I definitely underestimated this boss, and I paid the price because I just died time and time again. So moving on to number 7, I have the Crucible Knights. Now the Crucible Knight, or Knights, is a boss that you will encounter multiple times throughout the game, and every time I encountered them, I struggled. I hate the Crucible Knights because they are just so tough. Taking on just one of these knights is always pretty difficult for me, and then during one of the boss encounters you actually take on 2 at one time, and they're super aggressive. They have crazy long reach, so every time I would try to roll out of the way and drink a health potion, they would perfectly time it so that they would cancel out my health potion every single time. They have crazy moves that will insta-kill you, and every time you encounter these guys it seems like they have new fresh moves. I remember the first time I beat one of these guys, I felt a little confident and cocky, so the second time I encountered a Crucible Knight, I thought I had his moveset memorized, and then he suddenly kept hitting me with new moves I'd never seen before, so these guys sort of adapted and got more powerful as the game progressed. Now, I'm the type of player that likes to get up close and personal when it comes to fighting. I don't really use magic too much or any ranged attacks, so these guys were an extreme nuisance to me. I died a lot to these Crucible Knights, and that's why they're at number 7. So next up at number 6, we have Astel, Naturalborn of the Void. Now, there are, I think, 2 different versions of this boss fight that you fight in the game, and both times he was such a pain in the butt. I hated this boss fight. This boss was stupid. Not only is he just nightmare fuel because he looks disgusting, he's hideous. I don't know what he is, but oh my god, does he look scary. This thing's got multiple arms, it's got a giant skull and big pincers at its mouth, it can shoot laser beams, it can fly, and what was really annoying is that it would always teleport and instantly teleport behind me and like grab me and instant kill me. It was so annoying because I couldn't figure out how to dodge it. It has a bunch of gravity attacks where it will like suck you in and slam you down on the ground. I kept trying ranged attacks and it kept shooting me with freaking Kamehameha Blast. It was just such a pain in the butt to fight. This is one of the bosses where I had to leave and come back at a later point in the game because I just couldn't beat it. And just because of like the overall design, how cool and creepy it looks, and just how powerful this thing was, that's why it made it into my top 10, and that's why it's sitting at number 6. So up next at number 5, we have Marget the Fell Omen. Now, after beating the game, I'm sure I could go back and probably whoop all over Marget, and I'm definitely going to do a New Game Plus so I can get my revenge on this douchebag. But this guy, I'm putting him at number 5 because he has my respect. This is the first major boss that everybody encounters. He's protecting the only road into the castle, and man, was this guy tough. I have so much respect for this boss because I didn't beat this boss till maybe a good 20 plus hours into the game. I would go up against him, lose 20 times, leave, I would go explore the environment, do some dungeons, get some better weapons, come back, I'd be a little bit more confident. He'd whoop on me 20 more times, I'd leave, go level up, come back again, he'd still whoop on me. I remember when I finally beat him, I just felt this just huge rush of emotions. I was so happy that I finally beat this guy. And little did I know that he was just like one of the first bosses, and he's basically like the tutorial boss in a way. Because in the grand scheme of things, he's not that scary compared to the in-game bosses. But because so many people struggled with him at the beginning, and because I had such a hard time with him at the beginning, he has my respect, and that's why I'm putting him so high on this list at number 5. So coming in at number 4, we have the Dragonlord Placidusax. I'm just gonna call him Dragonlord. So number 4, we have the Dragonlord. Now, the Dragonlord is a boss encounter that you can very easily miss because I actually missed this guy. The only reason I knew that this dragon existed is because it came up in my recommended on YouTube, and I was like, holy crap, I didn't even know this boss was there. So I went down and tried to fight him, and boy, did this guy just mop the floor with me. The only way that I was able to actually beat this dude was because he bugged out and he sort of just froze in place, and he let me just wail on him for like half his health bar. If that wouldn't have happened, I don't know how I would have ever beaten it, because this dragon is no joke. Now, this dragon has a lot of crazy ranged attacks. He obviously has lightning, like most of the endgame dragons. He's big, he's powerful, his claws will pretty much insta-kill you if they make contact because they're just so powerful. But the most annoying part about this boss encounter is that he actually just constantly teleports. So depending on what your playstyle is, this can be extremely annoying. Anytime you go to make contact with him, he'll just teleport behind you, or he'll teleport clear across the arena. And anytime you're fighting a boss that teleports out of the way of danger, it makes it very difficult to kill said boss. Now, if it wasn't for having the ability to summon companions to help you fight, I definitely would have never beaten this guy either, because luckily my spirit summon was able to draw a lot of the aggro and distract this Dragonlord for me. I tried everything I could think of. I tried poison damage, I tried bleed damage, I tried like everything. I just couldn't kill this dude. And like I said, if he wouldn't have frozen in place and like glitched out, I don't think I ever would have killed him, because he's just really, really strong. So moving on to number 3, we have the Starscourge Radahn. Now, this is a boss fight that I have seen a lot of memes about, because apparently a lot of people struggle to fight this guy. I've seen some YouTube videos where people just absolutely demolish this dude in like 2 seconds, because there's some like insane players out there that just whoop all over all these bosses with no problem. I am, however, not one of those people, and Starscourge Radahn just absolutely wrecked me time and time again. I remember the first time I ever fought this guy, like as soon as I went into the arena, and he shot me instantly with his gigantic bow and pretty much one-shot killed me. As soon as I entered his area, I mean, I was blown away because I didn't know what to do. As soon as I got through the cutscene and walked in, he just one-shot killed me from across the map. I was just dumbfounded. And this boss encounter was something. It's a good thing that they let you like summon companions to come and help you fight this boss, because he's just so unbelievably aggressive and he hits so hard. The only way I was able to kill him was by basically getting underneath of him, and he was just getting confused because I was running underneath of him back and forth, and he didn't know which way to look. But if he ever made contact with you, it would pretty much insta-kill you. And when you get him to his second phase and he gets more enraged and he gets even more aggressive, oh man, it was a scary boss fight. This is one of the bosses that took me well over 50 plus attempts. It was nuts. By the end of it, I absolutely hated doing this boss fight, but I felt so proud of myself when I finally beat him. And overall, it was a pretty fun boss encounter. It was just pretty rage-inducing. And because he killed me so many times, I'm putting him at number 3. So next up at number 2, I'm putting the final boss of the game, Radagon of the Golden Order / the Elden Beast. Now, this is one of the bosses that has 2 different encounters. This is technically, 2 bosses in one. So in the first phase, you face this guy with a hammer, and he can be pretty annoying. I definitely struggled with him for a while, and then once I finally beat his first phase, you watch a cutscene and the Elden Beast comes out, and the Elden Beast tore me a new one. I just kept making it to the Elden Beast time and time again, and I could not figure out his movesets because the Elden Beast would kill me so fast, I didn't have enough time to learn how to counter his moves, so I was just throwing bodies over and over and over at the Elden Beast. And what's sad is that going into this final boss encounter, I thought I was at a level that I could probably just go in and whoop all over the final boss. I was at level like 160 when I went into the final boss. I had all my weapons leveled up all the way. I had like the best shield that I could get. I was confident. So I definitely went into the final boss fight a little bit cocky, and I definitely paid the price for that because this guy taught me a lesson. He taught me that it doesn't matter how much you level up, you're never going to be prepared for the final boss fight, and he was just something. The Elden Beast was definitely a pain because he kept like running away every time I get up close to him. He had these really strong ranged attacks. He did a ton of holy damage. And for a final boss encounter, it definitely didn't disappoint, and that's why I'm putting it at number 2. Now next up, before we get to number 1, I have a couple honorable mentions that I want to talk about. These ones just barely didn't make the list. So the first honorable mention, we have the Putrid Tree Spirits. Now these bosses are another type of boss that you encounter multiple times throughout the game, and these guys sucked. I died a lot to these dudes. I remember the first time I fought these guys was when I tried to get the Oleg Spirit Summon. And you're in this really close room with this tree spirit, and it's super aggressive. It will just pick you up in its mouth and hit you with lightning damage, and these things are no joke, and they were a huge pain in my ass. Then the next honorable mention I want to talk about is the Black Blade Kindred Gargoyles. Now these gigantic gargoyle statue things are really aggressive, and if they hit you, they do a ton of damage. I wasn't even able to kill one of these dudes until like way later in the game because they're just so tough. They can take hits, and they have my respect for being so tough, so that's why they are an honorable mention. And then the final honorable mention I want to talk about is the full-grown Falling Stars Beast. Now these Falling Star Beasts, I think there's 2, maybe 3 of them you fight, and these things suck, because these things are probably one of the most aggressive bosses in the game. If they hit you, you're pretty much dead. You basically just have to dodge and weave and stay out of the way and hope that they aggro onto your spirit summon, because if they're aggroed onto you, you're pretty much done for. I remember dying time and time again to the full-grown one, and they just suck. So moving on from honorable mentions to number 1. Coming in at the number 1 spot, we have Malenia, or Melina, or however you say her name, and she is something. Like, she is super aggressive. She was just a nightmare to fight. And she is, in my opinion, is easily the hardest boss in the entire game. I've seen multiple people talk about this boss encounter and how she is just so unbelievably strong and how most people struggle with her. She has this crazy katana, and she has multiple moves that will insta-kill you. I don't know how anyone would ever beat her if they didn't have a shield or was super lightweight and could dodge everything. She has this siphon ability where if she makes contact with you, she gets her health back. So when I was like blocking all her attacks with my shield, it was just siphoning her health. The only way I could kill her was by using the black knife and using its ability where it takes away an opponent's health. I was using my spirit summon to do the same thing, so both of us were just eating away at her health with our black knives. And then when I finally beat her, I had this huge sigh of relief because I thought I finally did it. And then there's a cutscene, and I'm thinking I just, beat one of the toughest bosses in the game. And then after the cutscene, I realize there's a phase 2, and she grows wings, and she's even more powerful and aggressive, and she has new abilities. And I remember the first time I saw the cutscene, she instantly flew down from the sky and one shot killed me. And I was just blown away because I took hours upon hours beating her first phase, and then she hit me with this new phase, and I instantly died. And yeah, her second phase took me forever to beat as well, mainly because the first phase would get me so low on health that the second phase left me with like no flasks left to heal with. So it was just overall a major pain in the butt, and I think that this boss fight is easily number 1 in my personal opinion. And that is going to sum up my entire list. So let me know what you guys think of my list down in the comment section down below. If there's any bosses you think should have made the list, let me know down in the comments, and let me know what your guys' personal hardest boss encounter was. Now that is going to do it for this video, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting the subscribe button. Hit the bell for notifications, and that is going to do it for me, everyone, and I will talk to you all in the next video.